You know what? I'm gonna switch topics here. I'm gonna invite Norse to call. Norse Law.
Okay.
And I want you to engage him, not me.
All right.
Norse and I go back and forth constantly on Facebook.
All right.
Norse is, I don't want to say he's a liberal necessarily, because I don't think that's fair, but he definitely leans that way with almost all of his points.
Okay.
And I think you always say you want to talk to somebody, and Norse will talk and answer your questions and you him. So 8 Norse, call us up, 800-497-5891.
Hello? The CMS phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 1-800-497-5891 and let your opinion be heard. Call now. It's 1-800-497-5891.
The Classic Metal Show.
All right.
He'll call in a minute.
That's fine.
But yeah, I'm curious to hear you. I'm going to kind of step out of this one,
right? Because you engage him all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I know me and you talk regularly, and you're always like, "How can people argue this or how can people argue that?" Well, he's a fine example of it.
All right, hail and kill caller, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Norse. What's up, man?
What's up, Norse?
What's going on? So we're gonna get some edgy political debate going, huh?
Well, I guess I want to know what Chris is talking about as far as a viewpoint on what is the viewpoint on what, Chris?
We'll start. Norse. The exact point is what we were just talking about the corporations, basically not wanting to give fair wage.
Okay.
And Norse is adamant that they should pay $15 as a minimum wage and trickle down the profits, etc. And from there, I'll let you two go.
All right. What is your thoughts there, Norse? I want to get your viewpoint on that.
Well, all the evidence, if you study all the empirical data about growing an economy, it doesn't happen when you get all these tax breaks and you make the wealthy wealthier because, the top 1% put a lot of effort into hiding their money or they only can have so many toothbrushes or, golden hot tubs. But when you get the money into the middle and lower classes, they spend this money, and that grows the economy. It creates jobs. It creates a better infrastructure for everybody all the way around. So, because I call that growing the economy bottom or middle up. And, it seems like the only way to really do that is to have some kind of government or union initiative to get these other places to pay. I mean, these aren't just drops in the bucket. Like Walmart's the largest employer in the whole country, and you go back, when we had a strong middle class, it was GM, and adjusted for inflation, GM's I think bottom wage that it paid was like $25 an hour, and today Walmart pays like $8.50. So you can see the effect on the economy as a whole. So even if you're not working there, it still affects you. You want to open up a small business, well, you got to have people around you that are making money, and that's my basic thesis there.
Okay, well, you can take a breath. It's okay. You don't have to be nervous. I can tell you're a little out of breath. So just relax. You're talking to two friends. We're not going to chew you apart. I know you use the example of General Motors, and I'm going to lump them in with Chrysler and Ford and at one time American Motors. Look at what happened to the city of Detroit.
Right.
Look what happened to that. That city was run by Democrat political power structure, and it was run by the unions. Look what happened to it. It's totally destructed. It's in decay. Nobody wants to live there anymore. The crime is running rampant. It's bankrupt. Everything is just destroyed over there.
Again, though, I can pin that on another, tangent of free market, conservatism. Because by not putting tariffs on these imports coming in, we destroyed our industry and bankrupted it. And I think that was much more the culprit, than the wages that these people had, and also probably the manufacturing. I think was behind these foreign imports. But by not using tariffs, we didn't protect our industry at all, and I think that was that was the basic crumbling point of it.
Well, how about ingenuity on our part that if we had a car or had built a vehicle that was comparable to an import that got the same gas mileage, had the same, benefits of imports, don't you think our American ingenuity might have staved that off a little bit? Because if you could buy an American car that we're going to go back to 1970s here and 1980s, mostly 70s because of all the oil embargo and everybody looking for a cheaper car.
Right.
When people were importing the Nissans and they were importing the Mitsubishis and Mazdas and so on and so forth back in the 70s, if General Motors had risen to the demand and the occasion, if they had come out with a car that was just as good as a Mitsubishi on gas, do you think people still would have bought the Mitsubishi?
I mean, if it was comparable to what they were producing in Asia, if they were still undercutting us because they're able to pay their, work, they're able to have 8-year-olds in factories and, pay their workers in banana peels, then I think they would have still had the edge. So, at some point you got to draw the line and say, hey, we're going to create a middle class and we're not going to compete with, trying to have everybody live in caves and come out and serve the rich people at night.
Well, but see, the thing is I keep hearing class envy in your voice. You keep saying the rich people and how many pens can you buy and how many toothbrushes can you own and so on and so forth. My point to that is you as a consumer, you have the choice as to whether you purchase those products or not purchase those products. You have the choice as to whether you work for those corporations or not work for those corporations. You're not forced into servitude at all. Those are choices that you make as an American. Now, if people were so anti-Walmart, since you brought Walmart up, you don't have to work at Walmart.
Or shop there.
Do you want to know the last time I stepped foot in a Walmart? 4 years ago. I personally have not been in a Walmart in 4 years because I choose not to spend my dollars there.
I want to ask one quick question in here for Norse or you, Neeley, either one. Why would you want to have more legislation that's government regulated for the corporations as far as the pay versus, or why would you trust the government to do that and enforce it when A, they've set up the structure and honor the structure to let the people hide the money, as you said, and B, do not set up legislation to even the playing field so that people can't go to like China and fucking have dresses made for like 2 cents a dress. Maybe even out the tariffs so that if a dress costs $1.50 to make here in the States and it costs 2 cents in China, well, then the tariff would be $1.48. So it evens the playing field and forces the economy to grow because it levels the playing field against the rest of the world.
I would agree with that.
I think there's two different things you have to draw, dichotomy between the politicians and how they enact legislation based on all the corporate money coming in on both sides, and that's basically why people think we have a fallacious government in terms of it being a democracy. But in terms of the left-right paradigm, on the right you have everybody evoking freedom, which just means hands off on the rich, let them do what they want with Citizens United. Pretty soon they're going to be able to buy a president if a corporation has enough 50 million, they can buy a president at some point. So, but on the left, you have a lot of populist initiative where, they want to get the government working for the people and do, things that are advantageous to us. Like, they're more oriented towards putting the tariffs on. And, there's a guy named Bernie Sanders out of Vermont who's a really up and coming senator. And, I think that's the classic, the classic difference between the two in terms of ideology is, one is hands-off free market, and that leads to the rich exploiting everyone, and on the left, you have a lot of populist initiative.
Well, here's another point. Being that we have free, open elections, if we could get more people to think in your way of thinking, right, wrong, or indifferent, why don't we get rid of the people who are being influenced by that corporate money?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But I think that, especially on the right, there's that feeling there that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's freedom, that's for the rich people to throw their money around and influence. That's freedom, Trying to curtail that equals, government or, some kind of intrusion. So let
me tell you something. If you're a concerned citizen who understands how the system works, there is nothing that prevents us from voting a person out of office, no matter how much corporate money is behind them. It's our own fault as a society that we are so lackadaisical in our responsibility to get the right people in the office instead of just pulling that lever for the same old. Why did a Ted Kennedy serve 45 years in the Senate? Why? What would keep a Ted Kennedy in the Senate for 45 years all the way up to his death? Nobody should be in government for 45 or 50 years. Nobody. No matter what party they're in.
Right.
They should be in and out of there in under two terms, in my opinion. 2 terms, you're done. You're out.
I've always said that the way the government should work as a whole, from the lowest councilman all the way up to the president, is that you can only, let's just say you start off as a councilman. You can only stay 2 terms in any job, and every time you go back for a job, it has to be at the next higher position. So if you're a city councilman, well, then you can be, what's next? A mayor. And you could go from a mayor to
a representative,
and from a representative to the governor, and from the governor to a congressman or a senator, and from there to either a vice president or a president. And you have to, but once you fail, once you lose, you're done.
You're out.
You're out, and you're done with politics. And they need to do that. And it, why is it that if the Congress and the president all equally, if those 2 parties in theory equally control how laws get made, how things happen, how finances are handled, how tariffs are passed, all that type of stuff, why is it that one set can stay for 8 years and one can stay forever? That makes no sense. When you let them stay forever, when you let them stay forever, you let people know that they can buy them. And that's the problem.
So getting back to your point, I don't blame I don't blame the politicians or the government the way that it's set up. I blame the people. We're totally 100% responsible for what happens in that government. And if we're just too busy watching America Idol or The Voice or whatever popular reality TV show is on, more than being engaged in our politics, then we deserve what we get.
Yeah, I agree with part of that. I think that, if you have a sheep-like population, then, they've gotten us where we are, and, they're definitely to blame. But I think that, even if they are to blame, we should still seek to remedy that.
Well, how do you remedy that?
Counters to their sheep-like apathy.
You get rid of them. You get enough people. And here's the thing, that the Tea Party has been on the rise for the last almost 10 years now. And I hear nothing but hate and derogatory things about the Tea Party. But at least that's a group of people who are engaged in making a difference out there. Regardless if you believe the way they believe or like what they do or not like what they do, at least that's a group of citizenry that are banding together and making a difference out there. And nothing.
Yeah, I guess you could say the same thing about Occupy, though, and I think Occupy hit the nail square on the head.
I don't think Occupy made a difference. I think they made a bad name for themselves. They ended up being destructive.
But hold on, Neeley, because I don't want you to veer from your point.
All right.
Yeah, by going and arguing the validity of Occupy versus Tea Party, the bigger point is, and I'm going to agree with Norse on this. Occupy did make at least a statement. They banded together with a theory and they made a statement, and that's fine, and that's good. That's what should happen. What shouldn't happen is what did just happen in both of the last elections, or both of the last presidents that have been elected. So in the last 16 years worth of it, which is that people are voting based on a group, not based on issues. I think it was Jimmy Fallon or one of them went out after the second Obama election and went and just read what President Obama says, and then read shit that Romney was saying, and vice versa. And the people were so goddamn dumb that they didn't realize that the points that were being made were not made by their guy. And then once they were told that, well, they were being lied to, then they're like, oh yeah, well, I didn't mean it anyway. So the population is not educated. They don't take the time to learn the fucking points. And that's a huge problem.
Right. So, you know, granted, I don't agree with what goes on with our government, but as a citizen, I take full responsibility for those people being in office, because I voted. I kept up on the issues. I voted for the people that I thought should do the good job, regardless if they won or lost. But most of the people that I engage with on a daily basis, they have no clue, no idea. Gonna vote this?
But I guess my counter to that is, you know, for those of us that are vigilant, should we all drown because of so many stupid people, or should we, you know, try to have some kind of checks and balances so they can't get ramrodded by corporate money and told what to think?
No, but we need to have a bigger. What we need to do is have bigger influence. And you know what, Norse? And I've told you this before. For as silly as it is when me and you go back and forth on Facebook, we still reach your 1,000 people that are friends with you, and my 1,000 people that are friends with me. They all see the stuff, and
right,
you know,
right.
Some people learn, and you know, I'm sure there's people on my list that think like I do, and then read your stuff and are like, all right, well, maybe that's a good point, or Chris is wrong, or Norse is wrong, or whatever. But that's what needs to happen: more engagement in the true issues, less engagement in, well, President Obama was on the Tonight Show. He's fucking cool. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
less looking at this like it's a sporting event, and more, you know, like it has everything to do with our lives, and looking at it, you know.
Dude, I have nothing at all to back it except for the way I watch the news. But when President Obama won that first time, honest to God, it was not a presidential election. It was received like fucking LeBron James coming home was yesterday.
It was a coronation.
It was hero worship. It was a bunch of people that didn't know what they voted for. They just voted for him because he was the hip pick, he was the black guy, whatever.
He was on Ellen, he listens to an iPod, he was dancing, he was cool.
Liked him. Honestly, I mean, and that is a huge problem. Is we're such a fucking TMZ nation now that people will vote on whoever's the hipper guy. Mitt Romney read like an old fucking librarian. So, of course, nobody wanted to vote for him. He was boring.
Exactly. I don't disagree with you guys at all. So,
well, look, we found common ground. We found common ground. Look at that.
For sure, man.
But it's our fault, Norse. It's our fault as the citizenry that we sit back and allow this to go on and do nothing about it.
Well, one of the bigger problems too is that you know, there's such a small area of suitable debate or appropriate debate, I guess, among economic matters, and so you know, I firmly believe that the economic situation has moved so far to the right, and you can see that, you know, in the eroding middle class and the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, that, you know, there's a small area of suitable debate. You know, we're talking about possibly a $10 minimum wage, which is, you know, I still don't think you can barely, you know, maybe you can barely live on that. I don't know, but, you know, we're talking about millions and millions of people that are employed at that wage, and that's, you know, that's where we're at in terms of talking about that. So the real dichotomy in the issues is the social issues, and, you know, so everybody's arguing about gay marriage or, you know, abortion, and, you know, meanwhile, the rich are laughing, you know, on their way to the bank while they're taking us all.
Well, they know the people are stupid.
All for a swim.
Well, the thing is, Norse, the minimum wage was never designed to live off of. That was never the intent of minimum wage. That was just a springboard to get you into the marketplace. That was never meant to be a living wage, ever. Never.
Right. Well, but I think with their clan of unions and there's also, you know, a new morality where you don't have to pay anybody a living wage.
The people pay, people will pay, or corporations will pay what the market will bear. That's
right.
how it works.
But since the neocons shipped all our jobs overseas, though, you know, it's not a fair market for the worker to dictate his value. You know what I mean? So, you know, all these people are working really hard and, you know, busting their ass, and they deserve to live. But because all of our, you know, jobs have been sent overseas and there's a surplus of labor, that doesn't mean that everybody should live in squalor because the jobs aren't here. You know, there has to be a middle ground where some kind of decency is reached, in my mind.
Well, I agree with you in some regard, but the less government, the better. The government was not put here to provide. The government was
another. I'll take issue with that because if you get rid of the government, and when you're talking about government, I assume you're idealizing it to some extent. You're talking about a populist government where it's doing the will of the people, or you know, it's supposed to be anyway. And you know, when you get rid of that, you know, you get all these monopolies, and then it leads into private government. So, you know, where, you know, you don't have elected representatives, you know, doing our bidding. You have just these guys in offices doing whatever's best for the company, and it becomes a private government, and, you know, basically feudalism, you know, where we'll have to start paying to go on the internet, we'll have to start paying for water. And so that's why I think a vigilant, you know, populist government is essential.
But the guys that are in place now are not it. And that's always my point, is that you're willing to give more power to the people that fucked it up to where it is now. These are the people that are fucking it up. These are the people that have set it up to not pay this. These are the people that have set it up so the corporations don't have to pay as you put it, a living wage. These are the people that have allowed the fucking jobs to be sent overseas. These are the people that don't charge the tariffs that we have to pay to send our goods to another country. They don't charge the appropriate equal thing to come back from our country. These are those people that you're saying, okay, we're going to trust you that fucked everything up to go ahead and fix it now. There's no proof that they'll do it.
The thing what we're saying, Chris, you're saying these people screwed it up because of the corporate influence, because they kowtowed to the rich and these corporate forces. So you're saying you're going to get anybody out of the way that might, you know, perhaps, you know, if people were diligent and voted decent people in office, are going to get them out of the way and just go straight to the corporation as being, you know, essentially the government, private government. You know, you're going to get rid of this, you know, this government that's supposed to stand for us because of the negligence of the voter, and give it directly to those forces that have corrupted it.
Well, again, it comes back to the people. If the people would wake up a little bit and pay attention, to quote Jennifer, we wouldn't have this problem. But how many people do you know personally? Just think about it. I'm assuming you're a voter since you seem fairly politically engaged.
Yeah.
How many of your friends and how many people do you run into that know what's going on out there, you know, in the economy, in the political world, in the world in general?
Yeah, very few.
So that's my point.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
But I think there, though, you're getting at another difference between left-wing and right-wing ideology. You know, the left will say that, you know, the people are too stupid to govern themselves.
They are. Unfortunately, they are.
To look out for them. Whereas the right will say, you know, freedom, and that just means, you know, corporations taking over and running us. Whereas the left is, you know, more inclined to say you're trying to entity there looking out for us.
Yeah,
whereas,
but
you know, the
see,
right says, you know,
right, but
hand it over to the corporations, and I think it's the basic difference in the two ideologies.
Yeah, but the thing is you can't
anyway.
you can't keep propping up and protecting the stupid. That's your choice.
Well, I mean, if they think, though, we think too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing is you go vote. You go out on a Tuesday and you vote. I'm assuming you pay attention to the issues and the platforms and all the things of the people you vote for. I would hate to think that you vote a straight Democrat ticket or whoever it is you vote for. I hope you vote for the people that, you know, hold the regard the ideals that you believe in. Not because they listen to an iPod, or, you know, not because they're cool, or, you know, whatever the case may be. However people vote.
I think, you know, I think it's bigger than just the voting. It's, you know, and as dumb as it sounds, they had it right in the 70s when everybody was like, you know, buy USA, you know, buy from America. Don't buy from fucking overseas. You know, the Walmart thing is such a perfect answer, and it would be so easy to fucking fix. All you have to do is not shop there. And I know you're going to pay a couple extra bucks to go somewhere else to shop. Other place, like you know, I made the point earlier. I went to a farmer's market today and bought some fruit and some vegetables and some stuff. Now, did I pay more? Probably so. I probably did pay a little bit more. But I took the money that would have gone into this big corporate fucking coffer, and I gave it to a little guy that's just out you know, growing some stuff. If we would do more of that, if you know. There's a reason. The reason that all the mom and pops in every little city around us have all dried up is not because people stopped doing business. It's because people went to the cheaper, easier, convenient. It's all in one fucking box called Walmart, and that's their mentality. You know,
right? And I think one good way to accomplish that, and you know, get away from one small group of people hoarding the money supply. But just for instance, the Walton family owns as much wealth as the bottom 44% of all the wealth in this country, would be for a government-mandated sign or placard on every single restaurant, every single business, I guess, that, you know, is consumer-based, dictating what the wages and the benefits are for the workers, you know. So if they're getting treated crummy, then right at the door, people could see it and turn around. And I think that would be a good way to
that would never work. That would never work because people don't care. That really boils down to it. People don't care.
People know. Nobody, I don't want to say nobody. 99% of the people know that Walmart buys all their shit from China for 1/100th of the fucking price that they should. Everybody knows that, and they don't care. They're still right in there buying the fucking When Kathy Lee Gifford got busted for selling her dresses for fucking, you know, having slave labor make them, she actually sold more dresses for the next month. More. People don't care. Her name was in the news, so it's like, oh, cool. Kathy Lee.
We're a social media based country now. Everybody's on social media. Whatever's cool and hip, that's where I want to be. Everybody wants to be the cool kid, you know? They won't stand on their own. They won't, you know, I'm sure you've heard this term there, Norse, is the sheeple.
Right.
You know, and that's what it is. It's unfortunate. And listen, I admire your stand, and I admire the fact that you came on here, and I admire, you know, that you engaged in this, and this is a good dialogue and discussion. It's not heated, and it doesn't get into, oh, you're a fucking asshole, and I hate you, and, you know, that's stupid kind of stuff. That gets nowhere. But the fact of the matter is, it all comes down to us as the citizenry to do something about it. And until we do something about it, it's just going to continue along this path, and it's never going to get any better. The government is never going to enact any kind of an act that doesn't allow them the freedom to do whatever it is that they want to do. They're not going to limit their corporate donations. They're not going to, you know, they do everything in politics that is of their self-interest. The only reason we have this stupid Obamacare health care law is because somebody was bought to vote for it, because the citizenry did not want it. Nobody wanted it. And it's even worse now, but it got rammed through anyway because there were a few senators and few politicians, and it went right down the party lines. No Republican votes for it. All Democrat votes for it. Even some of the Democrats that were dissenting on it, they got bought off in the last minute, and they got their vote in, and it got rammed through, and that's it, and now it's a law.
And just to further that point, to me, that is treasonous. Those people that anybody that voted along party lines only, that's a vote of treason. If you're a senator or a congressman in the state of Ohio, and I know for a fact because I was here, that in Ohio that it was 70% against. That was our state. Now I think you know it varied from state to state. Some states were for, some states were against. But in Ohio it was 70% against in all of the polling. So if it was 70% against and you were a Democrat or a Republican congressman or senator and you voted for, then you did not uphold your oath. You did not represent the people of your district, which is your fucking job. It's not their job to vote for what the president wants. It's their job to vote what the people of their state want. And they don't do it. And they don't do it universally. And I'm not trying to pick on this one. I'm not saying it's all Democrats, because it's not. It's all these fucking assholes that just vote along party lines. I say it all the time. Best thing that could ever happen to this country right now would be fucking 10 nuclear missiles hitting downtown Washington. Because at least it would clean fucking house and we could start over.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. That would be a blessing.
So Norse, again, regardless of your political affiliation or your viewpoint, I'm going to wrap this up here. It's us, we, the people, the citizenry. We're responsible for this mess, and it's up to us to do something about it. So you need to get on your social media or Twitter or whatever, if you're going to be that active, you need to open up some eyes and open up some minds and get people out there. I mean, it's pathetic that countries like Afghanistan, who went through a lot of, bad times over the last few decades with the wars and whatever, those people were lining up to vote. They had that opportunity and they were glad to do it. Here, it's another election. What the fuck? It's not going to make a difference. Who cares? I'll vote for the cool black guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's our fault.
Yeah, it definitely is.
All right, I'll give you the last word.
All right, well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was an honor. Let's go big populist government and get rid of some of these sharks and give the power back to the people. Hail and kill.
All right, there he goes.
I knew that would be a good idea, because Norse argues it, but he doesn't argue it like the normal dickhead.
Sure.
You guys are fucking racist.
Right. I don't believe that. Not at all.
Yeah, I know.
It's just, it's our fault.
Period.
It's our fault.
Not arguing the point. I'm so frustrated that I just can't vote for a party, either party. They're both fucking. It's like, who's the better serial killer, Dahmer or fucking Mengele?
Right.
Guess what? They both are fucking murderers.
Sure.
One's as good as the other.
Right. Yeah, but who's the cooler one? Who listens to the iPod, or who watches videos on an iPad? Who's cool?
Well, Dahmer had better stories.
Really?
Yeah, his movies were better.
Then I'm voting for him because he was the cooler one of the two.
I'm all for Dahmer.
I want to be for the cool kid of the two.
Oh man, politics. I'm sure half the audience is like, all right, please.
You know what? I would like to think that regardless of you're interested in politics or not, and this show veers off from time to time on different things.
Sure.
But I would hope that even if you're not interested in that stuff, and it's boring and I hate it and I never listen and it sucks, and I hope you learned something from that little discussion.
Sure, that was a good discussion.
Hail and kill, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, guys, it's Midnight Maniac calling back.
What's up?
A little background about myself. I happen to be a union truck driver. I was a veteran, and I don't consider myself to be Democrat or Republican. And when I look at politics as kind of like you guys, the best example to me is, you remember back, because you guys are all pretty close to my age, you remember that Wile E. Coyote and the sheepdog, Fred?
Oh, yeah.
And then they'd go out and Wile E. would try to, and then at the end of the day, they'd punch out, and then they'd probably go, well, see you tomorrow,
Fred.
Fred.
See you in the morning.
That's what both of those parties do. They don't give a shit about us, And as me, I'm kind of understand what you're coming from with this, because we have so many union members in the Teamsters, and I think, Neeley, didn't you say you used to work for Roadway at one time?
I did work for Roadway.
Okay. Well, I work for YRC, and all of our guys are mad at Hoffa because he supports Obama and all this stuff. And I said, but you guys are to blame. The last election for the Teamster president, we had 17% of the people show up to vote. I said, your union is only as good as your members. And unfortunately, most of the Teamsters are stuck back in the 1970s. I'm smart enough to realize a lot of those, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Neeley, a lot of those inadequate work rules have killed the union, and now the LTL industry, the non-union ones have a lot more flexibility. They don't have the legacy costs, and our members just can't get that through their head that you can't just do one drop and hook in the yard an hour when Conway or FedEx are doing 2 or 3.
Right.
But I'm going to defend the point that the union is a good thing, because for 25 years, or well, 20 years as a Teamster, I used to tell the Conway boys, and that, you know what, you might not like the union, and I understand that, but just remember, we set the bar on the pay. Well, as soon as they merged Yellow Roadway together, we took a 10% pay cut on our first give back. Well, guess what? It wasn't that long before FedEx, Conway decided, well, gee, you're going to have to pay more for your health insurance. Gee, right now we just can't even pay into your 401k, you know? And like you said, people just don't understand when it comes to some things. You know, it's like illegal immigration. I've been driving truck for 25 years. I used to haul produce. Do the illegals do the jobs that we don't want to do in this country? Yes. But I also remember when there used to be union meatpacking plants in the 70s, you were making $55,000. There were a lot more union painters, sheetrockers, drywallers in the dairy industry. Pretty much all of them, unless you're in a big town like Chicago, guess what? Those have all disappeared, and that's all because of foreigners, whether they came from Poland or they came from South America. And I see it in the trucking industry, you know. I think I'm in trouble here because they're just going to want to bring in more foreign labor to do it for cheaper, you know.
Sure. It's maximizing the investment.
And, you know, when you were talking about Walmart, I don't shop at Walmart either. When people were standing in line when they finally opened a Costco where I live in southern Minnesota, you know, people were like, well, I don't know if I want to pay $55, and I don't know if I like Costco. And I said, can I just give you one reason to shop at Costco? They pay 30% more in wages and benefits. You don't have to be a Teamster in the union. You can just work there and not be in the union, you know. But I said, you know, if you support Walmart, you're supporting your tax dollars paying for a lot of them people to have government assistance, Minnesota State Care to help pay their insurance. I mean, even Kennedy, as much as I didn't like that guy, I mean, he basically, the state of Massachusetts, tried suing Walmart because most of the Walmart employees were on all types of different state aid, you know.
Sure. Well,
and that's what I said Obamacare was for, was to get these corporations out of the insurance. There's a lot of chain stores up in the Midwest that I knew from stopping and delivering to that they're like, yeah, well, you won't see me as much. I'm getting cut down to 28 hours from full-time. And I'm like, why is that? Well, you can thank Obamacare.
Right.
You know, and then I started preaching on national radio on a trucking show at night that watch the unemployment numbers keep dropping. And the guy's like, why do you think that? And I said, because most of these corporations are taking people from full-time and turning them into part-time, you know?
Right. Well, when people realize that Obamacare is not about health care, it's just about government control, then they might wake up and realize that this is not about health care. This is about getting control of the populace.
Oh, exactly. I agree with it. And like you said, people only care about themselves, you know, whether it's a politician or you personally. And I understand that people make their decisions based on what they make. My dad was a union meat cutter for 45 years. You know, they carried black Angus steaks in there. The produce was good. Well, people went to Walmart and they found out, oh, gee, when they opened the first Walmart up in northern Minnesota, they put papaya juice in there. They put this in the meat. They put that in the meat. But the union miners up there, when the union meat cutters were picketing not to shop there, they didn't seem to care. And then a year or two later, you know, like my dad would tell me, Hormel would come in there and say, we're going to have, you know, Oscar Mayer wieners on sale, and, hey, you know, we're going to do them for $3.50 for one. And my dad would scratch his head and look at the sales guy and say, how am I going to sell them when Walmart's selling 2 of them for $3, you know? Well, the store closed up. No one, and everybody was mad because, well, we can't get good Angus black beef or good produce now. Well, you know what? That's because you all decide to shop at Walmart to save money.
Right. But again, they had the choice to do that.
Yeah, it's a sad shape, the way this country is being run, and until like you said, the public finally realizes that they got to stop supporting their party so hardline and just be an independent and vote people that are going to actually do something in this country. but big business controls everything. What's a scary statistic to me is, do you realize Obama and Congress have passed more laws? He's number 1. Number 2, and currently this year working on number 4 slot for the most rules and regulations. It's like, where did freedom go, you know?
Well, we need to get the right people in there. So, like I said, it's up to us to wake up and go out there and vote. That's all I can tell you.
All righty, guys. Well, have a good night. I enjoy listening to your show. I got turned on to it by my partner in crime, their uncontrolled noise.
Nice. Well, say hey to Jerry Lindegard up there.
We'll do that. Have a good night. Hail and kill. Fuck you, pal. And job.
All right. Look, got callers all over the place. All right, I say we get into some music. I know people are just like, some people are just like, I like this discussion. Others like, oh, I hate politics. Why are you going to talk about that?
Exactly.
Those are the people that
I told everybody in the chat room that was saying that they were bored to go to talkingmetal.com.
Right.
You can get some music conversation over there.
Sure.
Enjoy.
I would just like to think that if people look at us as influence, you know, an influence or somebody who could, you know, get you to think a little bit.
Okay.
It's your country, people. You guys do with it what you will. If it goes down the toilet, it's 100% on your shoulders.
At least I know I can move to a nice place like Newfoundland.
Right.
If this place doesn't straighten up.
Sure.
Angel's going to take care of me.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of Angel,
yes,
she threw me a request via the email. So if you want to get a
request,
yeah, she sent a request
for Ruben Cross.
No, not Ruben Cross. She would like.
I'm all for. Well, hold on. Demon makes a good point. What's next? Religion chat.
Well, we could get into that too.
I think people probably don't know this, and this is not even bullshit. But how many people do you think realize that I have a theology degree?
They don't, even though you have mentioned it here on the show.
Yeah. So we could have a really good religious chat next.
Right.
All right. When we come back, we are definitely going to talk about the validity of Deuteronomy versus the hypocrisy of the book of Luke.
Right.
Does that sound good?
Sounds great to me.
All right. I'm in for this.
Well, anyway, speaking of the beautiful angel of death.
Yes.
She wanted to hear Creator.
All right. I'm in for that.
Creator with a K.
Because it's cool.
And I got a request from Demon as well.
All right.
So I'm going to play Creator with Coma of Souls from the CD of the same name.
Good album.
And so let's play some Creator with a K. Everybody go relax, get a drink.
All right.
Political talk is over.
For now.
So we'll be back.
All right. How about this? Why don't we come back and go completely the other way and finally get to reviewing Liquid Meat?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. That'll be fun.
All right, we'll do that. All right, well, here it is. This is Creator from the Coma of Souls release. This is the title track exclusively here
on your classic metal show.